Hi, I'm Stephanie, and lately I feel like I'm dodging dodgeballs in gym class, except the dodgeballs are shiny, expensive, and they keep promising me better pores. Between holiday collections dropping in September and every brand deciding that this is the perfect moment to launch their revolutionary neutral palettes, my makeup monster is practically foaming at the mouth. But here's the thing, I've developed some rules that are genuinely saving my sanity, my wallet, and my vanity space. Today, I'm walking you through all the launches that I'm not buying and, more importantly, the mental frameworks that are keeping me from turning into that person who owns 17 perfect neutral palettes. Although, if I'm being honest, I already am that person. So I just want to keep it from getting worse. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's talk about how boundaries can actually make beauty more fun. If you see me looking off to the side here, that's just because I am checking out all the new releases with you. Let's start with the MAC Pro Lip Erase. Now, as a self-proclaimed beige babe who's obsessed with eyeshadow and therefore tends to wear much more nude lipsticks, the concept of a classy concealer lip always makes my heart skip a little. There's something so chic about that my lips but better, but actually worse, but make it intentional look. But here's where my first rule kicks in. If I already have something that scratches this particular itch, then do I really need the shinier, newer version of the same itch scratcher? I have Charlotte Tilbury's JK Magic, and while it's not a true concealer lip on me, it gets me about 80% of the way there, and then if I add a little bit of foundation to it, like I did today, it gets the look the rest of the way. This shade, though, is more everyday friendly, which honestly might be better for my lifestyle anyway. So my makeup monster is whispering, but what if the MAC formula is different? What if it's better? What if it'll make it easier? And you know what I tell my makeup monster? We haven't even finished exploring what JK Magic can do. So let's master what we have before we go chasing the next shiny thing. So rule 1 is use what already scratches the itch. It's not about deprivation, it's about enjoying what I already own instead of constantly looking for the newer model. Speaking of neutrals, and when am I not, let's talk about the Natasha Denona Eye Sculpt Texture and Tone palettes. There are 2 of them, and both the soft and dramatic colorways are calling to me because, well, they're like the perfect collection of neutrals. Plus, it's Natasha Denona, which is a brand that I've generally had a lot of success with in the past. But here's where it gets interesting, because when I really look at these, the deeper dramatic palette reminds me a lot of the bronze palette. And if you saw my recent August makeup bag roundup, I'll link that video here and in the show notes in case you'd like to see it, you'll know that I harvested my 3 favorite shades from that palette, and then I decluttered the rest because I just wasn't reaching for those intense tones. The soft colorway, on the other hand, is giving me major I Need a Nude palette vibes, which I already own and genuinely love. The few shades in this new Eye Sculpt palette that I like that aren't in the I Need a Nude palette, I think I have them in my I Need a Warm palette. So my Swatch Goblin is practically vibrating right now, wanting to feel these new textures and compare the new formulas to what I have. But this is where rule number 2 saves me. If it feels like deja vu, it is. If I already broke up with the bronze palette, then I don't need to date his twin brother, so the dramatic version is out. And if I already have all the shades in the soft palette with my I Need a Nude and my I Need a Warm palettes, then there's no need for me to spend my money, my time, or my energy on this new soft palette. I'm not missing out on some revolutionary new experience. It is literally dirt pressed into pans. Not only that, these are variations on a theme that I've already explored several times over. So honestly, I would rather spend my time playing with my existing Natasha Denona palettes, which are so beautiful, than adding more similar options to the mix because they'll just distract me. Can we pause for just a moment and acknowledge the weirdness that is holiday collections dropping in September? Because nothing says back to school like an advent calendar, right? I swear they used to wait until at least October for these things, which was already bananas if you think about it, but maybe I'm just remembering wrong. Has it always been like this? Let me know in the comments, because I have a feeling they creep forward a couple weeks every year. But now, at any rate, we've got advent calendars and holiday value sets appearing while I'm still trying to figure out if it's too early for a pumpkin spice latte. And speaking of those value sets, they always seem to scream things like contains $200 worth of product for only $59. But here's my question. $200 of value according to whom? Because I am usually only interested in maybe one or two of the items in those sets, and most of the time, there are exceptions, but most of the time, I would rather spend my money on the few things that I actually want than on a package of surprises that end up as expensive stocking stuffers, because then I spend less and I have less clutter. I guess it's kind of like those mystery boxes. Sure, the thrill of surprise is fun for about 5 minutes, but then I realize that I'm the proud owner of a neon lipstick and all I ever wear is nudes. So I'm not going to go into any deeper detail on these holiday or value sets just because they don't add any value for me personally. But of course, if you see one that has several products that you would really like to have, then maybe it would be worth it for you. So feel free to let me know what you think of this year's holiday set so far in the comments. This next release brings us to what might be my most powerful rule because I think it has saved me the most money, the most mental energy, and the most buyer's remorse. It is my automatic no to limited editions. Now, before you think I'm just being some joy-killing Grinch, let me explain. I don't think that limited edition products are inherently evil. Some of them are genuinely gorgeous. I even own and enjoy some myself. But here's the thing. My makeup monster puts me under enough pressure on a daily basis. So when companies add to that pressure with limited edition tactics, the whole buy it now or regret it forever messaging, it can make me a little crazy and I don't always make the best decisions. So I created an automatic no rule for limited editions. And it has become this beautiful, peaceful Zen boundary that makes decisions for me. Case in point, the Lancôme Adventurous Holiday Collection. I received one of their holiday palettes as a gift a couple of years ago, and the quality was spectacular. This new color story has me genuinely swooning. It's 4 eyeshadows and 1 blush, although I would probably use it as 3 eyeshadows and 2 blushes, but it doesn't matter. Either way, they're beautifully wearable colors for me. My makeup monster is practically doing backflips, but Stephanie, she whispers, what if this is the palette? What if you miss out on the perfect look? It's so pretty. What if? And that's exactly when my automatic no rule swoops in like a superhero. Nope, we don't do limited editions here. Moving on. And who knows, maybe I'll get it for Christmas. It's not about the quality of the colors or whether this would be perfect for me. It's about protecting myself from that frantic, scarcity-driven shopping energy that never feels good to me, even when I do get the things that I wanted. The same thing happened with the Chanel Les Ombres Bouton. I actually saw these in person and I swatched them and I really did like how they felt and how they swatched, especially the 219 Bouton Couture and 229 Bouton Stellaire. The brown one was definitely my favorite because why wouldn't it be? But the Bouton Stellaire, it's the sort of thing I would love to buy because I want to wear it in theory, but I don't think that the colors would actually be something I'd wear. So let's just say my swatch goblin was having a field day. But again, automatic no to limited editions. Decision made, mental energy preserved, money and space and overwhelm saved. So walking away felt like a win. And the Hermès fall collection is absolutely gorgeous. And I have been unbelievably curious about their makeup line since it launched, but these colors just aren't anything I would realistically wear, no matter how stunning they look together. So this one doesn't even need my automatic no rule. It's just not for me. As a side note, this whole concept of the automatic no and how liberating it can be is something I dive a little deeper into in a podcast that I recorded for my Patreon members. It's all about finding joy in having fewer decisions to make and how that actually opens up more space to appreciate what we do choose. If you're interested in that kind of deeper conversation, the link is in the show notes and the pinned comment. Now let's talk about something that always tests my resolve, and that is gorgeous packaging. Although this time it looks like it might be wrapped around some somewhat mediocre product, at least at the price point, because we're talking about the brand new Louis Vuitton eyeshadow quads and lipsticks. I did a whole video about these when they first launched, so I'll link that here and in the show notes. But now I have seen several reviews, and in every single one, people rave about the packaging because obviously it's stunning. Even if it's not your taste, apparently it's at least very high quality, but they describe the actual makeup as just very nice. Perfectly serviceable, but nothing special, which is weird because it's Pat McGrath, who is known for special makeup. But at that price point, we're talking $250 for one eyeshadow quad. The makeup would have to be absolutely mind-blowing for me to be interested in it. It would have to make me red carpet ready in 10 seconds flat and make me rich and successful. But that's when I realized I don't think that these are really eyeshadow palettes. I think they're little handbags, but for makeup. Louis Vuitton has always been about the bags, the luxury accessories, the status symbols. These makeup products are essentially tiny purses that happen to contain eyeshadow. And since I've never personally wanted a Louis Vuitton bag, I'm not really interested in these either. I think that these were made for maybe people who are already buying the $1,000 makeup train cases and the $1,000 brush set. And then while they're at the Louis Vuitton counter spending some serious money on bags and accessories, they'll just maybe add an eyeshadow and a lipstick to the list because compared to the bags, then the price is nothing. That's just not the way I shop. And as much as I am a packaging nut, which if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that I am, the dirt inside is ultimately always so much more important to me. So if the eyeshadow is just fine, then even my packaging obsession can't justify this. But then we have the new Gucci powder, which is testing my resolve in a completely different way. I am over the moon with my Gucci bronzer, which I finally let myself get earlier this year. I've been wearing it every chance I get for months, and I haven't wanted to put it down because I'm so happy with it. So naturally, I'm wondering, would I feel the same way about this reformulated powder, especially since Givenchy was evil and discontinued my favorite powder, and I have yet to find a replacement. I have been testing some powders, so I'll link my powder tests in the show notes. Now, I saw Sonia Butler wear test this against her Charlotte Tilbury powder, and although the Gucci didn't look quite as blurring when first applied, it did get more blurring throughout the day, and I think it ultimately looked better than the Charlotte Tilbury powder. So I'll link that in the show notes if you want to see it. That definitely continued to pique my interest, and I also know for a fact that my Gucci bronzer does a great job of blurring, which is what I look for in a powder. Plus, this is where my packaging weakness really shows. The compact. Those Gucci compacts just do something to me. My makeup monster is practically purring. Think about how that would feel in your hands. Think about how it would look on your vanity. Think about. No. This is where rule 4 comes in. Packaging is not the product. Packaging is the bait. The product is the hook. And I refuse to get reeled in unless what's inside is worth the catch. Do I need another powder? Do I have space for another powder in my routine? Am I actually unhappy with my current powders? The answers are no. Because I do still have some of my old Givenchy powder left. But on the other hand, yes. Because I honestly am curious to see if this could be a replacement for my discontinued favorite. But there are other powders out there that don't get my makeup monster quite as excited. And if I buy a product to test, I try to make sure it's not a passion purchase, especially not one based just on packaging. I'm letting myself be curious about it for potential future consideration. I just am not making any moves right now because I don't want to buy it just on impulse. And sometimes the want is enough. I don't have to act on every makeup desire that crosses my path, especially because the wanting and the searching is so much fun for me. If I actually do buy this, then I don't get to want it anymore. Now let's talk about the M.PH Underpainting Face Palette. As someone who does underpainting all the time and who travels frequently, the concept of a tiny, convenient palette like this absolutely intrigues me. But when I look at the actual colors that they've chosen, they just don't look like what I would use. Like those contour shades look like they lean a little bit too warm for what I would want, but then the corrector shade looks like it maybe is a little bit too cool. So I think I would much rather find a small container and then depot the cream products in specific colors and formulas I already know and really like for underpainting, because I have things that I'm really happy with already. So this is rule number 5. Concepts are great, but execution matters. I love the idea behind this product, but the reality just doesn't meet my actual needs. So instead of trying to force myself to want their color choices, I can just not buy it. Maybe I'll make my own palette with what I already have. Would you want to watch me do something like that? If so, leave a flower emoji for me in the comments. Now on to the Dolce & Gabbana Ever Icon Eye Palette. And here I'm a little torn, so I could actually use some input from you. These come in 3 colorways. Of course, I'm attracted to the brown toned Amber Venus palette. Surprise, surprise. But honestly, that pinky Rose Goddess and the smoky Chrome Star palette, they're neutral enough to catch my attention too. And yet, my interest has not spiked for these like it normally does for this kind of thing. And I think maybe it's because the packaging looks a little bit bulky, and at least in the photos, it looks like it might feel kind of cheap in person. And when I really think about it, I already own every single one of those colors several times over in various other palettes. So although I am mildly curious about the formula, I'm not actually really tempted by these palettes, which makes it the ideal purchase for my channel to review. But of course, only if there's genuine interest from you. So here's my question. If you would be interested in seeing me test these out and share my thoughts, then leave a purple heart emoji for me in the comments. And if there's a specific colorway that you want to see, you can let me know that too. And you can just say the smoky one or the brown one. You don't have to give the official name. But if there's not much interest, I think this is actually a really easy pass for me based on my I already own these colors rule and the fact that the packaging doesn't look very practical or even maybe very luxe. So I'm curious to see what the response is going to be, because sometimes it is worth making a purchase for content purposes if it would be valuable for us to explore it together. But on their own, these don't add any value for me. Now let's talk about the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray in Matte. I have to say the marketers definitely got my attention with their PoreAway technology, because I was just picturing a spray a day keeps the pores away, and that sounds ideal. But this is where I need to give myself a reality check. Am I genuinely that unhappy with how my pores look throughout the day that I feel the need to buy yet another product? Because I have to say, when I think about it, I am currently very happy with my Sicily Blur Expert Powder as a nose primer. My biggest pores are on my nose, and when I use that as a primer underneath my foundation, it really blurs my nose and it makes my foundation stay really evenly, which is great because this here is the Bermuda Triangle for makeup for me, and the Blur Expert solves that. So I have one product that I'm really happy with, plus I'm experimenting, testing a bunch of primer samples that I got the last time I was out because I used up my old primer. So honestly, I have more than enough to play with right now. So rule number 6 is marketing claims versus reality check. Just because something promises to solve a problem that I'm interested in doesn't mean that I need it, at least not right now. So if I haven't completely exhausted what I already have, I don't need something else to try. So this is a no, at least for now. If I see a lot of really positive reviews, I might consider putting this on my wish list for when my current setting spray runs out. Here's what I've realized about having rules like this. They don't make beauty less fun, they actually make it more fun, for me at least, because they eliminate things like decision fatigue and buyer's remorse. So instead of me constantly second guessing my choices or feeling guilty about buying too much or FOMO for not buying enough, I have a clear guideline that just makes the decisions easier. That doesn't mean I don't struggle sometimes. Just watch my recent post no buy update if you want to see what that looks like. I'll link it here and in the show notes. But having guidelines like these does help me. When I do decide to purchase something, it feels intentional and exciting instead of impulsive and anxiety-inducing. Plus, I find that I actually use and appreciate what I buy even more because I thought it through and got it because it actually fits my routine and not because I was reacting to some kind of marketing pressure. The automatic no to limited editions can feel a little tricky in the moment, but it honestly hasn't felt like missing out at all. At least not in the long run, because I had this rule starting last holiday season and I have not regretted a single non-purchase. I have to be honest, sometimes it does feel painful to say no in the moment, but for me, ultimately it's a huge win because it's about opting out of that frantic energy entirely. There will always be another beautiful palette for me to want, another perfect shade, another revolutionary formula, but there's only one me with limited time, energy, and space for my makeup collection. These rules aren't about deprivation. They're about being selective so that when I do say yes to something, I really mean it. When I do make a purchase, it's because it genuinely adds something to my life rather than just adding to my stuff. Like that Lancôme palette I mentioned earlier. Who knows? Maybe I'll get it for Christmas. And if I do, it will feel like a special treat rather than just another thing that I bought in a moment of market-induced panic. I want makeup to feel like a treat, not a constant source of low-level stress about what I'm missing or whether I'm making the right choices. So these rules help to protect that sense of joy and intentionality. So I'm curious, do you have an automatic no, or maybe a different rule that you've made for yourself that keeps you sane when launches keep on rolling in like a beautiful, expensive avalanche? Maybe you have an upper spending limit, or maybe you have a one in, one out policy, or perhaps you wait 48 hours before making a purchase over a certain amount. So drop your rules in the comments because I would genuinely love to borrow your best ones. Sometimes the most powerful boundaries are the ones we learn from each other. The reality is that the beauty industry will continue to create gorgeous, tempting products, and honestly, I don't want that to change. I love seeing the innovation and the artistry and the new ways to play with color and texture and formulations and, of course, packaging. The goal isn't to resist all temptations. It's to engage with new releases from a place of curiosity and agency rather than scarcity and FOMO. These rules just help me feel more in control of my relationship with all of that beautiful chaos. So when the next shiny makeup dodgeball comes flying at my head, I can just let it zoom past and keep my eyes on the ones that actually matter. Because the real skill isn't in dodging everything, it's in slowing down enough to choose your moves, Matrix style. Are there any new releases that you're excited about? Let me know below. If this kind of intentional approach to beauty shopping resonates with you, I've put together a whole inspiration sheet for my members on Patreon called My Rules for Staying Sane When New Makeup Drops. It goes a little deeper into specific strategies for different shopping triggers, plus some journal prompts for figuring out your own personal rules and boundaries, because they don't have to match mine. I just find that having frameworks like that written down somewhere where I can reference them makes such a difference when I'm in the moment, staring at a gorgeous new launch and feeling that familiar pull. So whether you adopt some of these rules, create your own, or just think I'm overthinking the whole thing, which is entirely possible, I hope this gives you permission to shop in whatever way feels best to you. If you enjoyed this, I hope you'll like, comment, subscribe, and check out this video here. Thanks for hanging out, and to all of my patrons and channel members, including my Adagio angels, for making content like this possible. I hope we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.